And welcome again to Real Estate Connections podcast. Today, I'm so excited. We have Suzanne Sharkey here. I have heard Suzanne's name for, I would say, maybe a year or two, connected to people that are really wonderful. They're investors, they're realtors, they're personal growth people. And I finally got to meet Suzanne Sharkey at a party on the 4th of July.
Mm-hmm.
And something happened there, and the universe presented the most wonderful person. Suzanne, I'm so happy to meet you finally face to face. And I know my listeners, our listeners, are going to be so happy to know you. And I have to share that one of the first things that Suzanne said to me when I visited her project on Monday was, I come from 4 generations of real estate. Suzanne, tell us that family tree, how that happened, but also where you are different on that tree, because you are.
Yeah. So I have loved real estate for a very long time. And I remember when I kind of went into it full time, that's when I started thinking about, how am I connected to real estate and why do I think this way? And people tell you, follow the things that you care about, follow that enthusiastically. And so when I started thinking back to it, why I was so driven in this one department, grandma was a big motivator for me. I mentioned to you when I saw you on Monday that she ended up taking our whole family to Disney World a very long time ago. And she was a high school teacher. Her husband was a high school teacher. So for her to be able to afford that for our family, which was a big family, there's 4 kids altogether, was a pretty big deal. The older I got, the more I realized what grandma did. And I also noticed over the years all of her investments. And so when she finally passed away, we ended up having to clean out everything. And at that time, did the gravity of what she accumulated all those years, all of her notebooks, her journals. She used to have a typewriter and she would type up like promissory notes. And I know this because when I went to college, I had to borrow money from her. But grandma was sensational. And so when I look back on what she achieved and accomplished, I was really blown away by her. And when I look back into her history as to what made her who she was, because for all her good things, she did have some downfalls. But what made her who she was is she was born in 1929, right when the Depression was at its highest. And the way that she ended up surviving, her mother passed away early on. And then her father remarried, and she would talk about her stepmom and growing up in that environment. And then at some point, her father also passed away. But she was able to survive the Depression with her stepmom taking care of her because of the investments that her grandfather made. So he was a landlord. She was a broker and just a investor, somebody who worked a full-time job, made smart investments along the way, tried to even do a rental. She was very upset, like when she had tenants. I found a binder of photos that she, wrote notes in. But, and then later on, my mother, so we were 4 kids all together. My mom always wanted to provide more and more for us. And when she got to a point where she could go back to the workforce again, I was so unhappy because I used to go home to a house full of love and warmth after school. And then when mom was working, it was not that. And so I missed her terribly. And so to spend time with mom, I would become her GPS, and I would do her little book. And she wasn't very good at that stuff. So I would do her GPS back when it was not digital. And I would also do her emails for her because she speaks very well when it comes to English, but writing is a little bit of her Achilles heel. So I've been entrenched in real estate since forever. I'm fascinated with it. I laugh all the time with Mark where I tell him, if I didn't end up in real estate, I wonder where I would be. I'm definitely a problem solver. I definitely fall in love with people. I definitely like the thrill that anything is possible in real estate. And I know that's one of the topics that you wanted to cover today, the whole term of creative finance, but those are the things that thrill me. So being 4th generation, something cookie cutter would not suit me. So being a listing agent or a sales agent, it's two within a framework. I like to live a little larger. I like to use my mind. I like to stretch the horizon and the frontier. And so I do the quirky, weird things. And so since 2020, I ended up joining a mentorship, and I learned how to do a unique version of real estate transactions. So the buzzword is creative finance, and the specific one that they lead with is a subject to transaction. And within that umbrella, there's a million different ways to go from there. But since that time, I've done a lot of foreclosures, auctions, the stuff that doesn't fit into the normal box of online, MLS listed, highest visibility stuff. All of the weird, the intricate, that stuff thrills me. And those are the people, at least for me, that are most desperate for help, because not a silver bullet's going to help them. They really need something custom tailored. And it's so frustrating for someone who needs help and can't get it with the normal modes that everybody has access to. And so for us to be able to find each other and come up with a great solution is a very rewarding thing for me.
And the other thing that this less conventional way of doing real estate does is it improves our inventory one house at a time.
Yeah.
And so when I used to support a flipper down in Maryland, he did 30 a year. He would work on 30 foreclosures or short sales, and he had a system, and he was very, very successful. And the other thing Danny did was he decided, I'm going to make this much profit on this house. And he didn't have to have the big profit. He was very careful about not having enough profit.
Mm-hmm.
But I loved the steadiness with which he approached, I would say, an unconventional market.
Right.
An unconventional market. So you have a flip project right now. We visited up in Nashua, New Hampshire, and it was a sweet bungalow, really, really sweet bungalow. And I'd like to use some of the pictures in the show notes. We'll add them to the show notes. And that project you've been on, you said, for a few months, 9 months, because you had to wait 2 months on permits, right?
There's always a unique story and a unique problem to solve. And yes, it was a story for another day. But yeah, I had to wait for permits probably for about 2 months. They had the wrong person they were contacting, and we kept, for different reasons, missing each other. So yes, I got held up for about 2 months. And then one of the other holdups was I ended up improving the attic into a bedroom. And originally it was frowned upon. And then I had to go and make my case, which I did, and finally got it. So a little bit of a journey, but that's all you can do, is make the most of what you have in front of you that day, and be okay with that, which I am. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the other concept we discussed was this concept of selective luxury. Do I have that concept correct? I mean, so as you're working on these projects, talk to us about what your intention is around luxury.
So I enjoy nice things, as I think we all do. Especially as a female, I love glitter, glamour. I can tell what a quality item is just by looking at it. I used to, play this game when you go shopping, I think at like the thrift store or anywhere, and I would be like, I could easily pick out the most expensive thing in the store, because I feel like I understand and I appreciate quality, all of the value and effort that goes into it. So I have what I call affordable luxury. I like nice things. I appreciate nice things. I don't like junky things. And the more that I go through this process of shopping, do I learn about things. So for example, ceramic tile is not as good as porcelain tile. And there's a price difference, because I'm usually asking myself, well, why does something cost way more than the other? Not only does it visually look maybe more appealing, but like help me understand the cost to it so that I can pay that amount that you're asking me for. I call it affordable luxury because some people, I guess if you're maybe not educated, you don't have resources to a good network, they can charge whatever price that they want to charge. But I put it on myself, since I'm on a budget, that I have to really shop hard for nice things. And so because of that, I end up getting very good deals for tile or anything that I put in my house, anything that I have to purchase, I heavily research because it makes me better along the way. And so I make really good choices. I've seen throughout since 2020, the growth that I've had with the product that I've put out. Each house is better and better. So yeah, I know that I like good stuff. It has to be worth the price that they are asking for. And usually I trend towards picking nicer things because I like nice things, and I make my houses the way that I would want it. Because I don't know, it's a, what is it? Language of love to be able to do a house the way that you would want somebody who knows what they're doing to do it. And so I've been very successful in more, I guess, higher end markets. I'm not in the luxury market at all, but I'm definitely between whatever the median price range is and something, slightly higher. So I like my style being affordable luxury because it's all nice stuff, but it's within grasp, within reach. Yeah.
And that was evident when you showed us your project the
Thank
other
you.
day. It really brought me back to when the little bit of flipping I did, but mostly the flipping I've observed. So to the audience, what's important about what Suzanne just said is you will be doing a lot of renovations to your own homes. And Carl just renovated a bathroom upstairs. It was really a closet bathroom. Hasn't been, updated in 50 years. So we did a prefab shower, a nice one. But when I went to put the flooring in, our friend who is an interior designer said, do not put in, kind of a synthetic floor. Put in ceramic tile and porcelain tile is what we put in, right? And so I said, why? And she said, it makes all the difference in the world. And it was much more expensive, no question about it. But I know when that project is done, I'm going to feel good about it.
Right.
I'm not going to feel like, oh, I wish I had not picked up something at Home Depot and just threw it down, had Carl install it versus a professional installer whom we've had right now.
Yeah.
So listeners, that's the message here. Affordable luxury. Use materials you can afford, and err on the side of quality for sure. But the cabinets you had in your kitchen, you were so proud of them and those cabinets. And I looked carefully. Cabinets are often a real standard of quality in a renovation. And they were all plywood, which was fascinating. And you were so proud of them. And you were working hard to make sure that trim was going to make it the most presentable cabinets. And that was impressive.
Yeah. I definitely think it comes down to attention to detail. So even just your, closet bathroom, how the shower touches the walls, touches the floors, the seams along the thing, the baseboard, how everything connects, does it flatter? I mean, it's so much effort to put a whole house together that you don't want to get to the finish line and then just give up, right? You had put so much work into it. Honor the work that you put into it by finishing it well. And then again, it goes back to just, I guess, my standard for myself. The image that I have in my head is I never want someone to sit on my toilet and know that I renovated this house, whether most likely the next buyer. I don't want the next buyer to ever curse me and be like, why did she do this? Why didn't she just cut it like this or cut it like that or put it there? This thing annoys me, or whatever the case may be. So I put a lot of thought and effort into my house. I want to be proud of what it is that I'm putting together. And all along the way, I made sure to do that. But I also see the growth that I've had all along the way. I've had better contractors. I've had better materials. I constantly shop every single project. I thought initially when I was shopping for each line item that I would get to a point where this is my go-to and I don't have to deviate from that. So I'm going to shop it hardcore. And then for the rest of my life, I will use this one thing. And it's not been the case. Every time I actually very much enjoy going back to the market. I have some resources that definitely help me. So not only do I have a network, which I love the fact that my network and your network collided. I've known you. I've known your name
Hmm.
for a long time. And so, yes, I love being able to meet you that way. But in addition to that, I adopted a group on Facebook, Contractors Help Contractors, New Hampshire, Massachusetts. We just reached 23,000 members. When I joined, I think we were at like 7,000. Everyone that I have added to that group since then, I always vet. So I don't do any spammy people, lots of weird people selling weird things, and I keep them all out of it. And so that group is exclusively jobs, people that have a job that needs to be filled, asking for exactly that. And so just alone, like with the tile, I ended up having to pivot. So originally I did a fiberglass surround, which was great for my price point for this one project. And it was horrendous. It came out terribly. It was not the right fit for it. The guy who installed it was my plumber and should have just told me he couldn't do it. And then the caulking job I was shocked by, and there was no way around it. It had to come out and I had to redo it with tile. My tile quotes were anywhere from 700 up to 4,500, labor only. Because the way that
Wow.
the way that I like to compare things is I ask questions as much as possible to better understand things. And then I also like to make it apples to apples as much as possible, because it's very frustrating for someone to give you a number, 3,000 and 10,000, and you ask the question, help me understand, what's the difference? What are you giving me? What's the value in the 10,000? What do you offer me in 10,000 that the 3,000 doesn't have? And so usually I do it where I buy the materials, because a long time ago I had a contractor buy materials and I was like, that's junk. I would never pick that. I would never pick that. And so I pick all my materials. I pay for my materials. That's one thing you'll learn with contractors is when they take a down payment, it's to pay for materials mainly. So if you take that lion's share of the work, providing the materials, having it ready at the project, they just have to come through and with labor install it, then it makes the process a lot easier. And so because I have that network and I have that resource, I'm more easily able, it's not completely easy, but I'm more easily able to go out, get quotes, get a good grasp on what it costs. So like I've noticed a trend. I think I got 16 different quotes just for the tile, and I make sure to dial it in so that we're talking all about the same thing, about 60 square feet of tile, 12-inch by 24-inch, 16-inch spacing, Schluter on both sides, floor to ceiling, and everybody knows. But I think the normal price of a tub surround with that kind of tile is about 2,500. And so you'll see guys that might go slightly over because maybe their workmanship is better, or you'll see guys that slightly underbid because they want to get the job. And then you'll see massively underbidded people, and that's going to be a train wreck. Don't go there. But yeah, it gauges you, because you could ask anybody, what's the going rate for something like this? Or you could actually, I don't know, put the request out there and see what you get, and then get a better understanding of where prices fall in line. Yeah,
Terrific. Is your mother still in real estate?
she is. She won't give it up. Yeah.
And what does she think about the path that you're taking? Does
So
she have?
it's funny. A long time ago, it took me a while to get into real estate. I have always loved it. I've always championed my mother because I love and adore her. I would hear the stories of so-and-so's being bad, what's going on, taking random calls late at night, having to send out emails. She would want me to check her emails to make sure that it was a strong email that she put together. And so I'd be reading these scenarios as to, what's happening. And I would get upset and be like, who does she think she is? Or why is this person doing this bad thing? Or like not understanding the full thing. So my mom is a real estate agent she first started out in New Jersey, large Korean population. I'm half Korean. And then now my parents retired in Rhode Island, and she works there. Originally, when she started, my mom very much has a bleeding heart. and she loves taking care of people, and it's probably not to her total benefit. So I've seen her deal with some of the hardest cases possible, to which I would tell her, please, for the love of God, fire the customer. This customer sounds like a train wreck and a headache. I don't like them. Get rid of them.
And she had some bad actors as clients. And you said, there's an expression in the training that I had as a realtor, which is delete.
Yeah.
Delete. You never know. Sometimes you don't know, but eventually you get the signals. Eventually. Yeah. And are you finding that? Do you find that? I mean, because you obviously have to sell your property. You hire a realtor to sell your property. Is that what you do?
Yes, I've done it in the past. So I was licensed back in New Jersey, where my mom was licensed, but I wanted more flexibility, and being part of, a national association doesn't really give you that. And I understand why. But yeah, so going back, my mom used to handle some of the worst. She wouldn't quit. She's very religious, my mom. And I think that's one of the reasons why she doesn't quit. But for the longest time, she had always said, I don't want you to get into real estate. She would make a comment when these things were happening. And so she put it in my head. And that's why for the longest time, because in 2020, I would have been about 33 years old. And I had done some other things, corporate training, worked for banks. I did supply chain management as my major, which I loved. I've done a lot of operational things, can work in different industries. But I was always a little bit thrilled by real estate. But I had her words in my head, which was, I don't want you to go in. She loves me. She doesn't want me to have a hard time. But I had to explain to her one day that the hard times are where the growth is. And so she's been such a supporter ever since. We had a heart-to-heart where I was like, this is important for me, that I get your permission to do this. I want to do this, but I want to know that you support me, because if I don't have that, it's going to hold me back. And so we had that. She still worries about me. That's her MO, is to worry about me. But over the years, I've invited her in more to see my actual projects. I think she came out to the first one, which was probably number 6 or 7, not because she didn't want to, but because I didn't invite her, or I wasn't proud of what I was putting out just yet. But this house, that was the testimony house I talked to you about. I was very proud of that one. It was like a 2-hour drive for her to come up, because she's in Rhode Island and I work in like northern Massachusetts. So I don't like her to have that drive. But she came out, we went to dinner, and it was really awesome. And I'm happy to bring her to the Nashua house as well. So it's been a lot of fun. I still go down for dinner, family dinner, like every week. The day changes, but I usually am talking about the projects that I'm working on. So they've been hearing about things. And even on the testimony house, my dad became a lender in the 11th hour. In the 11th hour, I had run out of money. I needed to sell my house because those hard money payments that you make on a monthly basis, I didn't have enough money to make those payments. And so I had to get rid of the house. But the agent that I had hired at that time ended up not working out. It was a girlfriend. And we ended up and I had 2 options at one point, and I was talking to my parents about it. And at one point my dad said, so you need a little juice. And I was like, okay, I think we're talking about what I think we're talking about. Yes. And he became a lender for me in the 11th hour. He gave me enough money to make two more payments, which was 2 more months. I ended up having to go out and hire another real estate agent, and she blew it out of the water. It was $65,000 more than my first agent. It was what needed to happen, because I really wanted not to lose the relationship with my friend. But had I done that, I would have been in the hole big time. And it was such a tumultuous time of my life that my accounting was not that good. So even though I thought about, letting the sale go through the first time, I'm really glad that I followed my gut on that one, because my gut had told me all along something was off. I had listed the house. My friends reached out, congratulated me, hey, good job, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, you what's going on with you? What's happening? And I was like, I don't know. I'm not happy. Like, I know I finished it. This was my testimony house. And to be at the finish line with a great product, this should be celebratory, but something's missing. Something's not right. And it ended up being that I didn't have the right agent listing it. It was not the right scenario to sell it. And so when it became finally time, I have this moment that I call it a tickle pickle. It's a weird, funny inside joke, but the part that makes you feel alive. I don't feel alive every time I close a house, but I get this certain joy. And the joy that I got was when I had the first offer with the second agent, because I had worried so much that I made the wrong choice, because that's what I do. I worry. I think that's a gift from my mother, worrying
That's
about
from your mom. Yep.
I worry. And I remember getting that offer, and that's when the world was lifted off my shoulders, where I was like, this was the right decision to do. I'm glad I went in this direction. And it's also brilliant how the universe came together. I never asked my dad for money. It was not anything that I would ever do. But yeah, he jumped in, he made that possible and gave me enough runway to make it right. I made a mistake, and yeah, he helped give me an opportunity to make it right. And that's my thing. Like, I want to do it right, which I think is why I put so much effort into choosing the right product, choosing the right contractor. If it's wrong, we rip it out and we do it again. We find the money and the budget to get it right. Because that's important to me. I'm not a person that is going to try to cover it and hide. I don't like that myself. So yeah, if I do it, I want to do it right. And if I don't do super luxurious, then at a minimum, you can trust that the integrity of my construction, my project, my decision making is there, because
Quality.
that's what I want. I can't go against that. Yeah.
Yep. Good. Well, you've said so many things that are so, so important, really, really important. And one, this concept of money that carries you through the deal, I'm familiar with that. Because when you lend from your IRA, and there's a whole world in which, of course, people finance through their IRAs, right? And that there are shorter term lenders that will lend you $20,000 to get through the next 2 months, et cetera, et cetera. And there might be some points on it. So there are these vehicles all around. And I know we're going to have a conversation about creative finance. I cannot wait for that. And then the other thing too is, I am so impressed by the integrity and respect that you hold in your family. The respect for your mother, who takes on too much in terms of people's other emotional or whatever personality needs, and yet the respect you have. And I would say, I'm grateful to meet you and get to know you, because a lot of what happens in this world, especially real estate, is transactional. And you often don't get to know the person on the other side of whether they are the renovator, in this case, a flipper, or whether they're the home inspector or whatever. You often don't get to know those people. And so it is an equal honor to have a conversation with you in which you reveal what's really important to you more than the transaction. And so that's what Real Estate Connections podcast, where relationships open doors. It's about relationships. And I'm grateful to COVID. I'm grateful to the pandemic. It has forced our attention to relationships.
Yeah. I tell everybody, and I don't know when exactly I learned this. So I just turned 39. And do I know all the secrets of the world? Absolutely not. But I remember learning at one point that the hard stuff that I did, no one can take it away from me. And I've had disappointing things happen. I've had people make bad choices. I don't know what the word is, but I didn't receive justice. But I remember telling myself that no matter what they did or do, it doesn't take away from what I've done, what I've learned, how I've grown. So it doesn't hurt me. I never lose. I never lose. So when you talk about COVID, it's and then Yun, my coach, which she's so funny, she talks about precision. when I look back, I definitely see magic in the universe. I'm like you. I believe in the universe. I call myself like I'm about 57% woo-woo because I'm still slightly pessimistic about things. But there have been too many things that have happened in my life that are just undeniable, that you're just like, there's something. I don't know what it is, but it's something and it's magical. So the two things I definitely believe it is whenever somebody is having a hard time, and I tell this to my friends, when they're crying over something, I always tell them that I'm slightly jealous. There's a part of me that's slightly jealous because the difficult thing that they're currently going through, they will be better for it on the backside. There are lessons that you just cannot get when you're in the hunky-dory phase of life. You really have to face the music. You have to work through the feelings that you're feeling about whatever situation is going on. You have to find your way back to alignment. And so, yeah, you're never not better for it, one. And then two, I love what you talk about in Real Estate Connections, because without question, I understand that humans are meant to be connected. And in entrepreneurship, very often do you find yourself being an island.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons why I started doing what I was doing for my real estate group. I would host weekly calls. I would host quarterly meetups. I love these people. They're not my competitors. Just being able to have like group therapy, talking about whatever issue is happening, how to have hard conversations with contractors, who's disappointing me, why is someone ghosting me? To be able to have a space where you can share that with others is really powerful. So I love the fact that you're building a community, that people can reach out to each other, ask questions, because this world can be a little bit lonely if you're not doing that. And I truly believe that as humans, we are meant to be connected. And so anything you can do to work towards connecting better will always be in your favor.
Thank you so much, Suzanne. It has been an honor and a pleasure to talk with you today. And I know we're going to talk some more, and we are going to talk about creative financing, which I love. I love. I love. Thank you, Suzanne. Good luck selling Nashua.
Thank you.
I know that you'll have another wonderful project when it's time for that wonderful project. And enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And I hope you found this conversation useful to you and your real estate goals. You'll find the contact information for our guests and any links they recommend you have in the show notes. And should we be able to help you identify some strong real estate professionals in your area, drop us a note at info@realestateconnectionspodcast.com. Thanks again, and bye for now.